Well, it is time to regroup at level 2. The exam, as you know, has been delayed to December. We don't have an exact date in December. I'm going to just target December 5th because that's when the level 1 exam is, just in terms of giving you a timeline. The exam won't be December 5th, but we'll target that area. I think it'll be around that time. You'll have an opportunity to schedule a date at that time. And we won't know for about 6 or 7 weeks. So, we do have some certainty. The exam's not going to happen in June, but we have some uncertainty because we don't know when in December. But being that it's 260 days away, I think we can live with a little uncertainty for a while. But there we have it, 260 days to December 5th. So if it were going to happen December 5th, which again it's not, it's in around that date. I'm just using that as a benchmark. That's 5.5 days per reading. Look at that. You got a smiley face on the side. That's pretty good. So if you had already prepared, and there were many who were 60, 70, 80% of the way there, yeah, this is a bit of a disappointment because it is hard to maintain exam ready mode for 8.5 months. I mean, it's something you want to do for 10 weeks or so. Those final 10 weeks in front of the exam is to be in exam mode and to be on this stuff every day, just so that you keep all the information current in your mind. But you can't maintain that all the way to November. So there is going to be some knowledge drain that you're going to experience, but we'll see if we can't come up with a way to minimize that knowledge drain. For those that were in the position of saying, I'm less than 90 days to the exam and I am just not ready. I'm only done 3 sections or 4 sections. I got so much to get through and I'm barely hanging on to the knowledge that I currently have. You've been given an amazing gift. You've been given the opportunity to see where you were 10 weeks out from the exam, or actually we were more like 13 weeks out from the exam, 12, 13 weeks out from the exam. You were given the opportunity to see where you were. Now you have time. Don't squander that gift. It's not often that you have that opportunity to see where you would be and then suddenly get a reprieve so that you can then learn from where you were. You don't want to be in that position again come October where you say, what did I do with all that time? Learn from that. So now's the time to say, you know what? I better put a plan in place. On our site, we have a planner, probably one of the most detailed planners out there. It's free. You don't have to be a subscriber to use it. It's absolutely free. And we've changed the dates. So the exam date is not June anymore. We've changed it to December 5th, again, just as a benchmark because we don't know what date it's going to be. As soon as we find out the date, we'll change it again. So if you're not already using that planner, use it and follow the instructions, use the planner, and it'll design the plan for you. It'll design what reading you got to do, how long you got to spend on that reading, when to move to the next one, and as you track your time, it will then change the amount of time that you have to spend on each reading based on your progress. If you're taking longer than you thought you would, it will then expand all of the time for all of the other readings to match your pace. So use that. It's we keep working on that all the time. We keep adding new algorithms to it to make it more adaptable to what you're doing. And the more people who use it, the more data we get, the more powerful it becomes. We are a little disappointed that the exam isn't happening in June because we miss all of the big data that we were going to get over the next couple of months because usage really spikes in front of the exam. Well, now it's going to drop down. Well, that's going to affect the patterns in the data, unfortunately. So I think that it'll be a few months of waiting until we can get the data back to the level we want where we can start to see patterns again. But this is going to mess up the patterns that we would have had in the data. Anyways, it's free. Go ahead and use it. And it will give you your plan for you. Once we have the firm date, we'll put the firm date in, whatever date it is, and it'll adjust. All your stats will adjust. For those that have been using the planner, if you go into it now, you'll notice that all your stats have adjusted to reflect the fact that you're writing in December now, not June. So listen, here's a great opportunity, especially for the ones that were, 60, 70, 80% done, because I had answered quite a few questions of candidates saying, look, I'm not getting this reading. Can I just move on? And I was answering, it's okay to give up one or two things. It's okay. Go back and redo those difficult readings. Go slow. You have the luxury of time now. Go slow. You know where you're weak now. You know where you need more time, and now you have it. Right? And use the review videos often. So if, let's just draw out a timeline here, and let's say this is the date that you started studying. Here's the exam date. Typically when we start learning, it's a little bit slow. The information doesn't consolidate in our brains right away. It takes a little while, but then we really start to get it, and we tend to peak somewhere, and let's say the exam is at this point in time. In this area in here, where we sort of flatten out, but we're still learning, is called the consolidation phase. Many of you were probably right here on the curve. 60, 70, 80% done, ready to enter that consolidation phase, and you're feeling pretty good about the June exam. If you don't keep it up, here's what happens. That knowledge does this. And then you have to ramp it up again to get to the December exam. Well, what we don't want is this to happen. It's an inevitability, though. You can't maintain the pre-exam pace of consolidation for 8.5 months. You're going to burn out. It's going to get really, really boring, and you're going to get sick of it really, really fast, because there's nothing new. Every day it's the same thing again and again. There's no novelty, and your brain craves novelty, so it will make you feel sick of the content. What we want to do, if we use the review videos often, is that we can, you're still going to lose some knowledge, but it may only do this before you have to ramp it up again. So we want to try to push the base of that curve up as much as possible. So if we use the review videos, let's say every, once a week, we're going to take 2, 3, 4 hours, and we're just going to cycle through that folder, the review video folder, and just stay current with it. Then you can minimize the amount of knowledge decay that's going to happen. If you were 60 or 70% of the way there, even 80% of the way there, and you want to shelve level 2 for a couple of months just to get through what you have to get through right now, I think you're okay. It's 8.5 months. Many of you were probably ready to write in 3 months anyways. So 8.5 months, you're probably thinking, but I don't need 8.5 months. 8.5 months is just ridiculous. I don't need that much more time. I was almost there. It's okay to shelve it for a while. When you come back to it, it'll come back rather quickly. So if you need to do something in your own life for the next 30 or 60 days, that's okay. That's perfectly fine. I would say that even if you did that, once a week, just schedule once a week where you're going to cycle through the review videos. At least do that. But you don't have to. I would say that if you're going to keep at it for 2 hours a day for 8.5 months, it's a little too much at this point in time. You're going to burn out. So you can take some time off now, and then you can come back to it in July and start ramping up again and get there. But do use those review videos. The mock exams, we're going to delay releasing them till September 1st. It's just far too early to be doing mock exams. These are things you want to do in front of the exam. Not this far out. It doesn't have a lot of value here. These mock exams are written to test you. They're not there for learning. They're there for testing. So you want to test yourself before you're ready to go in, not this far out. Besides, there were some questions on the mock exams that were repaired and upgraded from last year's mock exam that I'm not too happy with. I would have liked to have replaced them, but given time constraints, you use what you can. Most of the mock exams are mine, except a portion of it are not mine. This gives me the opportunity to completely delete and remove any outside writer from last year and replace them with mine. So that kind of worked out kind of nice, because now going into the September release, they will be 100% my exams, my writing. Now, there is some belief out there that, hey, listen, if we get 8.5 more months, aren't they just going to make the exam harder? I don't think so. I don't think they will. But what I'm going to do for these mock exams is I'm going to go over what I've written and just make each question just a little bit harder. Maybe not each question, but out of each vignette, if there's 4 or 5 questions, make them just a little bit harder, a couple of them a little bit harder. So the exams I'm going to make a little bit harder. So if they do raise the minimum passing score, or if they do make the exams harder, at least these mock exams will be at that level. They'll prepare you for that. And if they don't, well then, listen, if you can beat up on these mock exams, the real exam shouldn't be too difficult for you. So that's what we're going to do with the exams. Office hours, they're being suspended as of now. There's no point in continuing with office hours because we were going into the final few readings. Well, the exam is 8.5 months away at this point. It would be, I don't see the purpose of using the office hours at this point. So we'll resume them again September 1st, but we'll resume them again from the beginning. So we'll cycle through all of the sections from the beginning. I'll have a schedule posted in a few weeks because I have to put level 1, level 2, and level 3 office hours on a schedule in such a way that they cover more readings per session, but that it doesn't kill me, because that's a lot of work to do, to cycle through 143 readings in 60 days or 90 days. So I'll put a schedule up in a few weeks, but we will restart office hours September 1st. They are suspended as of now. If you have the office hours add-on, they are suspended. They will begin again in September from the beginning. Also, this gives me an opportunity for our ethics section. All of the ethics questions on our site were written by outside writers. I didn't write any of them, and I don't like them. Some of them are cryptic, some are difficult to read. Many of them were just wrong, and we had to fix them ourselves over time as candidates pointed out that they were wrong. So I'm rewriting the entire ethics quiz bank myself. There are 80 questions for the guidance for the standards 1 through 7. 80 I think is light. I think I can get at least 120, maybe even up to 200 questions in there. But I'm going to really ramp up the number of questions we have in the guidance. So over the next few weeks, this is pretty much where I'm heading. Starting early next week is the ethics section, because it's always been hanging over my head that I don't like those questions. But I've never found the time to actually rewrite them, and you need about 2 to 3 weeks straight to be able to do that. And if the exam was going to happen in June, I don't have that kind of time. Well, now I do. So I'm sad that it's not going to happen because we are going to miss a sales cycle for 2021, which really helps us. But at the same time, I'm happy because it allows me to go back to certain things and say, you know what, I needed to fix that stuff anyways. I just didn't have the time. Now I got the time. Mock exams, gonna fix them. The ethics quiz questions, gonna fix them. Gonna make them all mine. So that'll be done over the next few weeks. Now, this does disrupt you in getting level 3. Many of you probably thought, look, I'm going to knock level 2 out this June. I'm going to knock level 3 out next June, and I'm done. And you may be thinking, well, now this is going to delay me a whole year, because if I got to write level 2 in December and I don't get the results back till the end of January, I'm not going to have time to make a run at level 3. So let me, I talked about, in another video, I talked about a tapering strategy for level 3 to study concurrently with level 2. You don't need 8.5 more months for level 2. I think we both agree on that. Everyone out there listening is probably saying, you're probably right. Maybe many of you were ready to go for June. Those who weren't ready probably said, well, if it was August instead of June, I'd be ready. So you don't need 8.5 more months, but you got it. Use it wisely, and I'm going to show you that you can still, by next June, write level 3. You'll have more time to prepare for level 2. You're going to build a solid base, a more solid base at level 2, and you're going to layer level 3. You're going to taper level 3 onto it near the end of level 2, and you'll be right where you would be had you written in June. I seem to think that it would be prudent for CFAI to accelerate the grading of the level 2 exams this December, to accelerate the grading so that people can then make the decision faster. I also seem to think it would be prudent going into next June Instead of having it near the beginning of June, push it to the end of June. You know, buy an extra 3 weeks in June. See if you can't get results out to candidates in 4 weeks instead of 7 weeks, and push that exam 3 weeks later. You come up with 2 extra months, or sorry, you come up with at least a month and a half there, extra time. Maybe, you know, they're full of smart people over there. They really are. They probably have already thought of that. Anyways, in the fall sometime, once you get level 2 down and you feel really good about level 2, in the fall sometime, pick up level 3 2021 book 3. This will be a 65 Canadian at that time. Book 3 covers asset allocation, derivatives. There's 3 readings here. There's 2 readings there. And currency management, there's 1 reading there. Pick that up and begin to prepare for that. The reason I take this one is because these 2 derivative readings build off of what's at level 2, and this currency management one builds off some of the currency reading that you do in economics at level 2 as well. So it does feed back onto level 2 a little bit. Most of the other ones don't feed back onto level 2 very well because they go off into asset management. These ones kind of asset allocation, well, not so much, but you know, I find that those 3 readings on asset allocation are pretty interesting. So pick up book 3 and study concurrently with level 2, because at that point you should be consolidating all of level 2, and you know, you're learning some new stuff at level 3. Once you write the exam in December, after the exam, pick up book 4. And that covers fixed income portfolio management and equity portfolio management. This is considered one of the most challenging challenging sections in all of level 3 is the fixed income section. Equity, not so much. It's fairly easy. 1 reading has a few little tricky things in there, but that's it. But overall, it's a pretty straightforward, easy go for equity PM. But fixed income, especially the reading on yield curve strategies, that is a brutal one. It brings many people to their knees. If you pick that up right after the exam, by the time the results come out, look what you've done. You've gotten book 3 and book 4 out of the way by the time the results come. Book 1 is ethics again. It's a repeat. You pretty much have 50% of that done, which means you're about 40% to 45% done level 3 by the time the results come out. So that's a beautiful tapering strategy, because listen, you don't need 8.5 months. You were already ready to go. The majority of you were already ready to go. And even the ones that said, look, I'm not going to make it for this June. If only I had an extra month or 2. Well, there you go. Use the tapering strategy. And you'll find that by next June, you're right where you would have been anyways. That's it.